we are back. And I saw a pretty interesting video the other day.
It's always a scary thought.
Right. So I saw this video where this realtor is being sued. And I should preface, I don't know if it's an actual realtor or just a real estate agent, but basically what happened is she's representing these clients. They go look at this house. At the end of looking at the house, she provides feedback. Overpriced, kind of a dump. A couple days later, her buyers say, we kind of want to see the house again. And so they go back to that house. They put in an offer. They counter, and the sellers actually know that this agent submitted this feedback that says overpriced, kind of a dump. And then they do the inspection. They ask for some stuff. The seller's like, no. So then they go ahead and accept it. They, throughout the process, like ask for something else. The seller's like, no. Like basically, like, we'll not work with these people at all, but had accepted, they are in a contract. Yeah. So they get to closing, and seller meets buyer, and they're like, do you want to know why we were not very helpful or very accommodating throughout this entire thing? Because your agent said that our house was overpriced and a dump. And so the buyers sued their agent.
Yep.
What are your thoughts?
Oh, so many thoughts at this point.
Because I remember when we were going through the process,
yeah,
you would submit feedback.
Yeah.
And then, especially when we were selling, you would look for that feedback to be like, is it overpriced? Is something just not vibing like continuously with people?
Right.
Do we need to paint the whole house?
Right.
Do we need to re-landscape? Do we need to, do something that people are just continuously bringing up?
So here is what I would say. First of all, if you're the seller, getting feedback from other parties is really an important part of the process, because it does give you insight from another perspective, right? And you may absolutely love your realtor that's listing the house and think they've given you great advice, and maybe they're full on in your court, but maybe it's like your mom is not really going to tell you all the negatives about how you look today, right?
Yeah.
So they just accept it because that's they love you anyway, right? And so getting that honest feedback from somebody who's a different perspective can help. As the listing agent, I know that it's helpful, especially if, well, we probably went a little higher because that was where the client really wanted to go, but it really needs to be lower. Or maybe they didn't want to hear the ugly news from me, but maybe they'll hear it from somebody else. And so you kind of look for that as a opportunity to back up what your thoughts were.
Like validation.
Validation of the process, of the property itself. But here is the most important critical thing that you have to realize. When providing that feedback, understand that it is not just seen by the agent who's listing the home, that it is more than likely going to be shared with the homeowner, and understand that it is supposed to be your client's feedback. You're just giving it in a summary format, saying my clients didn't like it, didn't fit their needs. It is not a time to trash talk. It is not a time to talk about all your benefits and accolades as an agent. You need to understand the professional requirements. You're bound ethically on what you're doing, and understanding, again, the purpose of it, right? So there are a lot of agents who do not submit feedback. For this reason, they feel that it hurts their benefit, hurts them if they're going to go in for a contract negotiation. If they say, oh, my clients love it, they're going to be writing an offer, then all of a sudden the seller may say, okay, well, if they love it, then they're coming in overpriced. Okay, they're not going to ask for anything. Well, then they've set the wrong expectation, so they don't want to do that, so they don't send the feedback.
Yeah.
Well, 3 days go by and you've gotten no feedback and you didn't get the offer because they're going to take their time doing it. It's like sellers want to know.
Yeah.
Right? Buyers aren't the ones that are physically giving that feedback. And because of that, it opens the liability for the agent who's involved. And so in this respect, it just happened to be point on, this is why we didn't, and that was an opportunity for those buyers to feel like they were not represented. And that is a failure on the agent's part for that buyer, is to put them in a position where they maybe didn't have the contract negotiation opportunity that they would have otherwise. So
is it something where, to avoid this entire lawsuit, the real estate agent, and I'm using that because I don't know if they were an actual realtor or not,
Right.
could send an email like, would you like to provide feedback on this property? And then it's up to the buyer.
that would be one
do
way, or have that conversation. But more importantly, in the feedback itself, we've done this because you have to figure that there are recording devices in the properties, right?
That's what I was going to say too. Like,
Is that you got to know
ring
you're
doorbells.
not jumping up and down and, oh my gosh, I'm so excited because you just gave a telltale sign and the other side sees it.
Yeah.
So
you kind of have to have your poker face.
poker face, understand that we're in this for a negotiation for it to feel like a win-win on both sides, right? And so when I do a listing, I take a consent form, and I always tell people, same as when I work with buyers, we have a consent form. What do you give me permission to say on your behalf that may help in the negotiation? And invariably, somebody wants to say, well, you can tell them that I'm having to relocate here for work. And I look at them and I say, if it's appropriate, if it doesn't hurt you, you give me consent for this, that's all I need. But understand, if it is interpreted that that is a negative, we're in competing offers. Well, this one is just randomly out there, but this one has to do it. So, hey, if they have to do it, then this is going to work on our timeline. Then they may not give on the price. Understand my professional experience, but more importantly, my duty to my client is to make sure that I'm not doing anything that negatively impacts them, that limits their performance in this deal and in negotiation. So I can't say, oh yeah, they got to move next door because their mom lives there and this is what's going to happen and they've got 2 weeks to make it happen, so we're all in. Because guess what? The seller isn't going to negotiate on anything.
Right.
You're going to take it as is, probably skip the inspections. Hey, let's just go to cash close.
Yeah.
And that hurts my buyer.
Yeah.
So you have to understand, even if you aren't a realtor, if you're just a real estate agent and you're licensed in real estate, you still have that obligation. Maybe it's not the NAR code of ethics. It's still an obligation to your client. And legally, I think there would be ramifications if you fail that.
Wasn't there just like state ethics
Yes.
with your license?
Yes.
Yeah. So I feel like kind of one of the big topics of this episode is communication. And so I saw another video of a realtor or a real estate agent, I don't know which one, just absolutely sucked on the communication.
Oh.
So apparently this girl lists this condo, and this is in another state as well, and the buyer's agent sends it to the buyers and says, hey, I think you would like this. It would be an investment property. They go look at it. They love it. They put an offer in. Don't hear anything for days. But the seller's agent is more like Instagram famous and puts on there like, in contract, look at me. But they're not in a contract, and they're not in a contract with anybody else.
Mm.
So then the buyers contact, through their agent, the seller agent, and says like, what's going on with this? It's been 3 days. We still haven't heard anything. Oh yeah, they've accepted.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, can you send that in writing? So then like 3 more days go by. Like, look, if we're not going to get something in writing, like we're moving on. This is ridiculous. So then they send it when they give them the ultimatum. And then they look at the date, and it was signed by the seller 3 days prior.
Wow.
Yeah. So, and then it was just continuous like miscommunication, and it left the buyers being like, is this the buyer that's not communicating? And in the listing, motivated to sell, fast sell wanted, blah, blah, blah. But the agent was not communicating.
Yeah.
They could have been locked up in a contract, getting ready to move towards the closing table. They had the financing, everything was ready to go. But because this agent wouldn't communicate, then she responds back finally after, this goes back and forth for like 2 weeks, and says, we're not willing to move forward with this contract. And then they just back out of it.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Well, so many things wrong with obviously that scenario. If you are not getting communication on either side, the duty of the agent, whether they're a realtor or just a real estate agent, the duty is to perform the services that are needed, right? And
Yeah.
you're the source of the communication from the buyer side to the seller side. The clients aren't talking together. It's the agents who are supposed to be talking. Well, I'm a broker, so I will play the broker card. And if I don't get a response from the agent that I'm in deal with, there's going to be a message, hey, what's going on, whatever,
So this
but I'm going to copy the broker.
this agent was the broker as well.
Well, and so you have more duty as the broker. If you have a broker license, you're held to a higher standard. Shame on you. Certainly, the client who's not being served has the opportunity to probably file a claim, a complaint against that agent for the failure, because
But
obviously it could cost them the deal.
But you don't really know what they're being told either.
Correct, but
So-
you still don't have communication that's going.
So could the buyer file a complaint?
Yes.
Like, look, we got this signed contract
Yep.
that was dated from 3 days ago, but we only got it on this date 3 days later.
Right.
This is not like good communication. Could they file a complaint?
Absolutely. And here's the thing is that if the contract is written and you have an inspection period, well, there's timelines that are all delineated out through that contract process.
Yeah.
If you hold it up for 3 days, you've just cost somebody 3 days in their period,
Right.
which is not what you want to do. So now you're going to have an addendum. It's going to do an extension because of and I would get very pointed. I would point the finger and say, hey, you failed on getting this communication over to us and cost us 3 days. We aren't taking just 4 days to do our inspections. You're going to now extend the inspection time.
And she also talked about how they contacted by email, they contacted by phone.
Yeah.
They went to the office, knock, 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 and were not getting any
Yeah.
response whatsoever. But she continued to post on all of her social media. So they knew that your phone's in your hand.
Yeah.
Just respond.
Yeah. So that's a failure. I mean, there's no excuse for it. That's a lack of professionalism. Should absolutely be called before whatever board is available for that to be called about. You have an obligation, and especially in this time where people are readily available.
Yeah.
Just because I don't get the call doesn't mean I don't know that you called me, right? And if you leave me a message, you know that I'm going to circle back around when I get a chance.
Especially 3 days.
There is no
that's-
excuse.
That's longer than a weekend.
If you're sick and in the hospital, then you're not on your Instagram.
Right.
But if you're sick and in the hospital, you also have a duty that somebody is taking over your business during that time.
Yeah.
So there's really no easy answer for it. It's a fail.
Right. I was saying people could be like, well, I only work Monday through Friday. Okay, if that's your business model, whatever. But 3 days is longer than the weekend. So
Yeah.
you were either working Friday or Monday
Yeah.
of that.
And there are agents who do that. They say, I work Monday through Friday from 9 to 5. Nice for you, because a lot of my clients actually work, and if they don't get out until after 6, then I'm taking calls at 7, 8, 9 o'clock at night. I'm dealing with my client to their needs,
Yeah.
because that's the service I provide. Nice to say I only want to answer my phone call during these hours, but that is not realistic.
Yeah.
I don't think it works for the consumer, and I am in a consumer-driven business. So I think I have to give some leeway there.
Yeah.
I mean, sometimes you give up your weekends. Sometimes you get a few days off. Wow, that's nice.
Yeah.
I have a little bit of control over it, but I work when I'm required to work, and I am absolutely there for my clients for that reason.
Yeah.
But communication fail is really probably the number one reason why a lot of deals fall apart, especially if you start getting attitude or pushback or anything like that. I don't need to deal with this. I'm just going to go on. Why as a buyer do you feel like you have to pull teeth in order to get it? I'm trying to give you money. I'm trying to buy your property.
Yeah.
What's the problem? What's the holdup?
Yeah.
You either want to sell it or you don't.
Yeah.
And if you don't, then take it off the market because
So-
you're wasting my time.
So what is probably the worst communication story you've heard? Putting you on the spot right now.
Oh,
It doesn't have to be that you were involved in, just that you heard
Yeah,
of.
no, I definitely have had those instances where you feel ghosted by the other side, and it's like, hello, is this thing working? But again, the most recent one just happened, and we were through the deal. We were through the damn deal, and there was a final piece of paperwork that was needed, and the other agent's like, I'm not getting your email. It's not going through. Dude, I sent it last night to you at 5:22. Well, I don't have it. Did you check your spam? I don't have anything in my spam. Okay, did you change your email because we had no problem during the deal? Why is this a problem? No? Well, do you have another email address that I can send it to just to make sure? Yeah, so he gives me another email address. So I blow that one. I send that to that. Still, I don't have anything. I'm like, now that was a Friday. So I sent it originally Friday, 5:22, right? Saturday afternoon, he's saying, well, I still don't have it. I'm like, seriously? Like, I don't understand.
At this point, print it off.
So I'm like, okay, I sent it to you and copied me. I'm getting it, so it's not on my end. Like, IT is here. There's not a problem.
That happened to me though recently, like this week. One of my friends sent it to my email.
Yeah.
And I was like, I didn't get it. Can you resend it? And he sends it again. And like, I'm kind of IT smart.
Yeah.
You know, like I checked my spam, I checked the trash,
you're
I
the
checked
newborn,
the promotion tab, and it just wasn't coming through. So then I said, well, send it to this other email. Went right through.
Well, so I tried not one, but two other email addresses that he provided to me. So come Sunday, I'm like, I am at an open house, so I'm not like, I'll address this on Monday morning if you don't have it. So when I come out of the open house, still didn't have it. I swung by my office. I'm like, this is so absolutely annoying to me at this point that I have tried 3 different emails, had no problem during the whole course of the 2 months we were working together. So I did a final blast. I put all 3 of his email addresses, so the original one and the 2 new ones, and I copied his broker. This way, at least the brokerage had the information. He could go into the office and get it, right? Well, Monday morning happened to be a big meeting that I went to, and here walks his broker, and she walked right over to me, and she's like, did you ever get that resolved with him? And I'm like, I haven't seen anything from him yet, but I copied you, so you have it. And she's like, yeah, I got it. I don't know what the heck is going on. So she immediately reached out to his manager. So the manager's texting me while I'm in this meeting. When I come back, magically, he had the message from his original email. So I don't know what the issue was, but it magically went through. And if it was a hiccup in the IT world, cyberspace holding the stuff, I don't know. It was like just a simple form. It wasn't like a lot of files. Like I was coming and going with all kinds of other emails. It's like, dude, I don't think this is on my end. So
at least somebody got it though.
Somebody finally got it, and then he also got it. But it's that part is very frustrating. To like, you just want to get through the process. You want to be done with your checklist, right? So that you can move on to the next checklist items that you need to do. And this keeps coming back, and it's like, oh my God, that's so frustrating.
Yeah.
Other than that, failure to respond. You know, when you make an offer like we did, a lot of times we have the offer, the last page is where the seller is supposed to mark that it's accepted or that it's rejected or that they're countering the offer.
I don't think we ever got any back that said rejected.
Correct. And yet, we never got an acceptance. And so it was always a phone call that I'd have to make. Hey, just checking. Did your sellers have an opportunity to review this? Like, do the process of the paperwork. If you just send that last page, nope, they took another offer. Nope, they didn't. That verifies that the contract was presented, and then the buyer feels like, okay, well, we didn't make the offer.
Closing that circle.
Closes the circle. People just don't. Quick and easy isn't the deal in real estate. It's about consistency, it's about a process, it's about being organized, and it's about dotting the I's and crossing the T's and making sure everything is in writing. And if you don't do any of that, you're failing your client, and you're potentially setting yourself up for a lawsuit because somebody's not going to be happy.
Yeah. I feel like communication kind of goes on all levels.
Yeah.
And everybody has some kind of responsibility when there's a real estate transaction.
Yeah.
But it also transfers, to just daily life.
To life in general. But each client is going to be different. You're a texter. I'm a texter. We can text all night long. I mean, great. But if I'm doing detail, it's going to be an email. It's going to be a follow-up with a phone call. There's a whole process. I have some clients who aren't tech savvy. They don't want to do that. So it's physically printing things out, meeting with them in person. It's doing the signing with an actual pen. Imagine that, people. We used to have to do a lot of things by the hard way, right?
Yeah.
And sometimes I think that's a reminder that you still have the due diligence to work the process that's best for your client. Again, if you work, and we get military members who can't communicate during the day because they're on base. We have medical professionals who may be in surgeries and not able to communicate, or they're working 12-hour shifts. That may mean I'm taking a 10 a.m. or 10 p.m. call because it's going to work for their schedule, or I'm working on that Saturday or Sunday or Tuesday or whatever, right?
Yeah.
So you have to understand, this is why we're in the service professional business, is because we work for those people, and those people then get to dictate our schedule within reason.
Yeah.
But that communication that they need and want is absolutely critical.
So I feel like the tip to end this episode with is just communicate, respond. Even if it's a negative or a no, respond.
And politely respond if it's a negative.
Yeah.
You don't have to be harsh about it.
Right.
Thanks for joining us today on the Realty Podcast. If you enjoyed the knowledge and entertainment today, please subscribe and share with your friends. We will be embarking on a journey that bridges the gap between realtors and clients, uncovering the heart and tea of real estate.